Let's go across to Ambassador Veena Sikri. She was a former Indian High Commissioner to Dhaka. Ambassador Sikri, thank you so much for joining us. How do you see the situation in Bangladesh spilling into and affecting the security situation in India?
I think the first thing that we have to look at, India is always interested in a democratic, peaceful and stable Bangladesh. And if it's democratic, peaceful and stable, as it was under Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina for 15 years, you'd have development, economic growth, development, and people benefiting from 6.5%, 7% rate of growth. The problem of the present situation is that it was a regime change operation last July, August. It was not a revolution. It was not a spontaneous uprising. It was not a spontaneous students' uprising. So here you have a regime change operation brought in through the Jamaat-e-Islami, backed by Pakistan, and behind Pakistan you have the other Western countries. And the Jamaat-e-Islami is the power behind the throne these days. Muhammad Yunus is only the mouthpiece of the Jamaat-e-Islami. And the Jamaat-e-Islami is bringing in, or wanting to bring in, an Islamist government. In the interim government, interim regime of Muhammad Yunus, you have all the Islamist parties, the Islami Andolan Bangladesh, the Hizb ut-Tahrir, the organization Hifazat-e-Islam, and others. And in the elections, you will see that it's the Islamist parties. Look at the killing of Usman Hadi. He was a political figure, very little known till last July, August, but rabidly anti-India. So in this urge to bring in an Islamist government, anti-Indianism is at an all-time high.
Right. Right. What are the structural weaknesses? You spoke about extremist forces, but what are the structural weaknesses within Bangladesh that have allowed these extremist forces to gain ground?
I think there is no structural weakness except that this regime change operation, Muhammad Yunus, is backed by the Jamaat-e-Islami. Everything that he's doing and saying is as a mouthpiece of the Jamaat-e-Islami. And as I told you, they've brought into the interim regime all the Islamist parties. If there is an interim regime, of course, this one was sworn in on the constitution of Bangladesh, we had no provision for an interim regime. But even if you go by the old definition, which was earlier in the Bangladesh constitution, it was supposed to be a caretaker government just for 90 days with a non-party group of advisors to the chief advisor, and they're supposed to conduct elections, and that's all. But this regime deliberately said, no, we will do reforms before election and we will have elections after 4 years. It was opposed by the people. The demand of the people was for early elections, and giving into that pressure, Muhammad Yunus has now called elections in February of 2026. But still, the predilection is entirely in favor of an Islamist regime. I want to tell you that, when Usman Hadi was assassinated, as I said, a small, little-known person, but now the way in which he's being eulogized, he's being buried next to the grave of the national poet of Bangladesh, Qazi Nazrul Islam.
That's right.
And the way in which the Western embassies, the German embassy actually flew its flag at half-mast. You had Americans and others sending out strong messages of mourning and, sorrow and so on. It really seems to be that many of these countries are taking a highly partisan approach, and that is completely undiplomatic.
Right. Ambassador Sikri, the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, in a recent interview talked about potential political assassination if she ever goes back. How much do you think Sheikh Hasina figures in this relationship between Bangladesh and India?
Look, I think first of all that Sheikh Hasina's presence in India does not affect our ties with Bangladesh in any way whatsoever. Look, we have extradition cases pending with so many countries. We have extradition cases pending with the UK, Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi. Our relations with UK are continuing. We've even signed an FTA with them in the last few months. His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, has been in India for decades. Our relationship with China is continuing. We know each other's sensibilities. We continue the relationship, and the extradition is a very complex legal process. It cannot have an open night. Even last December, without even doing a court case, Bangladesh regime was sending notes saying send back Sheikh Hasina. It's not credible at all. It's just something political. They're just trying to make a show to their own people that they're doing this.
Right. Ambassador Sikri, thank you so much for joining us here on the network.